Determining the feng shui facing of your home. Spoiler alert, it's not always the front door. In my previous videos, I mentioned how calculating feng shui energies means you need two pieces of information. The first piece is the feng shui facing, which is determined by an actual compass reading, as well as the period that you move into the house. I'm going to have a different video to talk about the feng shui period of the home, but in this video, we are going to focus on how to determine the feng shui facing of your home or of your building. Hi, my name is Sabrina Kadri, and I'm the founder of Feng Shui and Prosper. And in this 15 video series, I am giving you a 101 crash course on what is real feng shui so that you can finally get real results. One of the main misconceptions is that the facing of the building is always your front door. Now, in my 15 years as a feng shui consultant, I would say maybe 95% of the time that is the case. However, there are always situations, especially for condos and apartments, and especially if you're in a larger city, where the landform is a little bit more confusing. And I'll share a case study a little bit later in this video. But determining the feng shui facing is really, really important, because once you figure that bit out, you actually have to go to that side of the house or that side of the building and take a compass reading. And this is the part that fast food feng shui information don't tell you about. In classical feng shui, the only tool a feng shui master would need is so if you're following any feng shui information that does not talk about the importance of a compass reading, save your time, energy, and money and walk away, because that is not real feng shui. That is what I call fast food feng shui. So how do you determine the feng shui facing of your home or your building? We look at what is the most yang side of the building. Most of the time, it is the street address. Most of the time, it is the main entrance. However, there are always exceptions to the rule, and which is why you must look at the feng shui facing of a house or a building on a case-by-case situation. Now, let me share one example with you. This is an apartment building here in Toronto where I'm at. Okay, so just letting you know that this is the outline of the building. Okay. And the address of the building is 55 or 57 Charles Street. So the address street, okay, so this is Charles Street West. So this is the address street. Okay, so this being a larger building here, there are actually two entrances. There's one entrance to this 57 Charles Street, and then there's another entrance right here that goes into this building, which is 55 Charles Street West, okay? However, there is a side entrance here as well. So this is the side door. And these, okay, are the main doors. Now, if you follow the school of feng shui that says the facing of the building is always the main door, okay, this is 55 Charles. It's a little bit taller, but 57 actually is wider as well. So I would say, like, unit-wise, tenancy-wise, they would have the same amount of apartment units in there. However, so this is Charles Street West right here. This is the address street. And this is really, the traffic here is really just, I would say, local traffic. It's mainly traffic of people who are living in this area. So you can't really see it, but this is where I'm hovering here. This is one of the main entrances, and the other main entrance is here. Many, many steps away from the address street. And again, this is just like a 2-lane street. But if you zoom out, you will see that the building is right next door to Bay Street. And Bay Street in Toronto is equal to Wall Street in New York, where it's like it's the financial street, right? A lot of the banks, the insurance companies, they're all there. And if you look at that, this is a 4-laner. And Bay Street being one of the main streets in Toronto, it's also busy 24/7. Again, this one, Charles Street, is more local traffic. This is the full building here. And here's one entrance. Here's one entrance, main entrance, and then there's a side entrance here. And this is the address street over here, okay? So both the main entrances are much further away from the address street. The address street is also much quieter compared to this street here, right? And the side door is literally just 3 steps away, 3 to 5 steps away from Bay Street. And yet the main doors are much further, I would say maybe 20, 30 steps away from the address street, from either of these doors, right? Or even if you were to take the compass reading from here, again, the address street is so much more less car traffic. We're not talking about foot traffic here, less car traffic than Bay Street. I actually did a feng shui review of this building with the side door, with the facing being the side door. So I took the compass reading all along this side of the building here. And I actually lived in this building for many, many years. And the experience that I've had in this building aligns with an East 1 facing building compared to a building that, if I followed the main door, this would have been facing northwest. And this would have been facing, I believe, Northeast 1. Or because this is the street address, if I did the compass reading based on the street address being the facing, then it would have shown me north. So I did forensic feng shui as well as feng shui forecasting with east being my facing. And I have to tell you, the experience that me and my family had in that building aligns with an east facing energy. Determining the facing and determining the period of the home are 2 of the trickiest bits to get right. And there are usually many different arguments for one way or another. But how we know if we get the period or the facing correct is by doing forensic, meaning you calculate the energies of the home based on those periods and based on those compass facings, do the calculation and then see what aligns most with the experience of the people that are in the house. That is one of the main ways to confirm that you got your calculation right. And so going back to this chart of the facing or the compass, once we have that information, plus we talk about the feng shui period, which I will talk about in the next video, now you are starting to see that real feng shui is very complicated, very complicated. And that is also part of the reason why real feng shui is hard to do social media posts on, because that means doing content that is specific to one layout that is not easily transferable to other homes. And it is so easy for someone to just take a little clip of what I said in a YouTube video and then run with it and end up getting themselves into trouble, because feng shui is not one size fits all. The safest way for you to do it is to do it under the guidance of a classically trained feng shui consultant. And I can tell you, even consultants from other schools, unfortunately, most of them will go with the main door as the facing. And I have seen this over and over again. I have a really good case study, and I'll share that in a future video about how a consultant in Australia did the calculation of the client's home based on the main door. And within 3 months, he lost $250,000 in his investments, because that actually wasn't his facing. His facing was actually the side of his building, not the front door. So I know you're probably saying, well, Safrina, that was not helpful at all. I still don't know how to do my feng shui. And in fact, you've probably confused me even more. I know. And that is the purpose of this 15 video series is not to make you a feng shui expert. It's really to give a warning that real feng shui is not simple. DIY feng shui, and even doing feng shui consultation with a consultant that is not properly trained, has its risks. The margin of error is really high. And that's also part of the reason why a lot of you guys do DIY feng shui, especially when it comes to fast food feng shui, and you get yourself into deeper trouble because you've inadvertently triggered unwanted energies instead. If you're curious what I have to share in my next videos, remember this is a 15 video series. I actually have all the 15 videos all in one page. Just click on my link in bio.